What's up guys, my name is Aaron and this is going to be my review of Last Year is Complicated by Nick Jonas. This is the third studio album by Nick Jonas. I surprisingly liked his recent stuff. The stuff that came out on his last album, Nick Jonas, was surprisingly pretty decent. I like how confident and how energetic he is when he sings, and I like his choice in production. It's not just like straight up like pop music. It has a little bit more like funky elements to it and hip hop and R&B elements, and I do like that with his voice. At times he kind of feels like Justin Timberlake, which I really like. He's one of my favorite pop artists, so he's kind of in good company that he does sound like him. So I was kind of excited for this album. This album does build on the potential that he had on his last album, but it doesn't like quite reach where I think he can go in his future. I felt like the production was really cool. It had a EDM dance feel for most of the songs, but then it has like hip hop R&B elements. It reminds me of the production On Purpose by Justin Bieber, but it's not as stale as that production was most of the time. On the songs Voodoo and Good Girls, they kind of have a skittering Timbaland feel to them, with like Voodoo having this like vaguely Middle Eastern feel to it, and then Good Girls having like a hiccuping feel to it. Kind of reminds me of a more upbeat version of Apologize by One Republic, the Timbaland version. That kind of really like brings you to think of Justin Timberlake whenever you do listen to those tracks. Champagne Problems kind of has a 80s feel to it with the driving synths that are on the song, and then the kind of funky feel to the beat too. The song Bacon has this like really sparse opening to it, and then it kind of explodes into this huge bombastic hip hop like tinged chorus. The song Close, the single for this album, it kind of has this tropical vibe that's really popular in music right now. Like the only song that's not really up tempo is the song Unhinged, which is like an acoustic piano song. I do like the production on this album is really varied. He's in the pop genre, but he does play with different genres, and he does integrate all those genres really well together. I feel like the features don't overshadow this album. Tove Lo on Close, I feel like she had a really strong performance on this album. She has probably like the biggest presence feature wise. She had a really nice voice on that song, and she had like a really nice duet with Nick Jonas. Dolla on Bacon, he probably came the closest to me for stealing the show, but his verse was a little bit too short. He sounded really smooth, charismatic, and just cool, and I liked his like flavor to the song. I just wish that it was a little bit longer, but I feel like if it was longer, it would take attention away from Nick Jonas, and they probably didn't want that. Big Sean on Good Girls, this was probably the worst feature for me. He sounded really bored on the song. It didn't really add a lot to the song, which was already really great anyway. Even though the features are, for the most part, pretty good, Nick Jonas is the star of this album, and I do like that. I feel like in this album, he's matured in a way that feels natural to his progression in music. It's weird because he was like a Disney Channel star. He was known for being in a boy band with his brothers. I feel like with this album, he's matured in a way that makes sense, and he even matured even more than on the album Nick Jonas. On the song Touch is pretty much a straight up sex song. He's pretty much talking about how he wants to touch this girl with no hands. Really suggestive, and it does fit with him maturing because he just sounds a little bit more confident on the song, and it just plays a little bit more than his previous attempts at this type of stuff. Unhinged, he's singing about how he doesn't want to show his real side to this girl because he's afraid of what she'll see when he does expose that side of him to her. I do like the songs on this album. They do kind of have this weight that make it a little bit more believable and more. But I think one of my favorite parts on this album is his voice. I don't really get like the criticism about it. Like, I don't think he's like the best singer in pop music right now, but I feel like he has one of the most energetic and I guess more engaged voices in pop. It didn't feel like Purpose by Justin Bieber, which I thought was really boring because he sounded so like monotone and so like detached from the music that he was singing about. The Difference, which is one of my favorite tracks from this album, it has this like little vocal run on it that I really like. It just sounds like he's having a good time on that track. Voodoo, he sounds really confident about this woman that isn't the best, and that he feels that he's better off being single. And then again, Unhinged, he sounds vulnerable on that track, and it sounds like he's really afraid of showing his like personal side to this woman who he really wants to be in a relationship with. He sings like he cares. He sings with a conviction, and I really do like his like pop voice. It's pretty good, and then I do feel whenever he does sing and stuff. I think it's weird that this album was labeled a breakup album. Like, before this album came out, I was talking about like how he broke up with his last girlfriend, and like this album is kind of in response to that. But overall, outside of like a few songs like Voodoo, Unhinged, Chainsaw, and a couple other songs, it doesn't like really feel like it. It's more of a like a pop EDM dance album, so it's really weird that they label this breakup album. I kind of expected something like Justified, like how that album was in response to Justin Timberlake breaking up with Britney Spears, but yeah, this album wasn't like that. Some songs on the album just didn't do a lot for me. Don't Make Me Choose was just kind of generic, and then I felt like Chainsaw was just kind of like a bad version of Chains from the last album. But I also feel like he's not really living up to his potential. I feel like he's like an A student who's kind of making C plus or B minus material. I don't think it's him because he does sound like he's like engaged in his music. I feel like it's like more of the songwriters or the label, they don't really know what to do with him. And I just feel like he kind of had a chance to do something really well with this album, but it just didn't come across. Overall, I liked the album. It was an album with a cool, very pop production with hip-hop R&B slants, mature, and it felt like Nick Jonas was a little bit more confident with his lyrics and his singing. The features didn't overshadow the singing at all. It felt like Nick Jonas was the star of the show, but the features weren't bad for the most part. Also, I like that Nick Jonas' singing is very confident, and that it kind of separates him from people like Justin Bieber and Zayn Malik to me. He sounds like he really wants to, be there. What I didn't like about the album is that it felt like he wasn't living up to his potential as an artist. I feel like he can do better than this. This is weirdly promoted as a breakup album when it was mostly like upbeat and dancey, and there are some lackluster songs to the album. Overall, we'll give it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was a really decent album. If you like this type of music, this is probably best for you. If you like are not a huge like pop fan, this isn't gonna really like persuade you to like the genre. So what did you guys think? Did you like the album? Did you hate the album? Let me know in the comments what you thought, and thanks for watching. Thanks guys. Bye.